This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2 of Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network. He's JVT. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We're coming to you live from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Lots to get to over the course of the next hour. If you missed any of the show in hour 1, remember you can always download Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. Had a good half hour with Adam Burke talking through all of the updates in the NFL Betting Guide 2.0. A nice refresh now that a lot of injuries have been updated and contracts are finished and injuries and all of that stuff. So the refreshed guide is out now. We're going to talk through this hour plenty of our thoughts on week 1, whether it be survivor contest strategy or games that we might be considering to bet, have played, or having the pick'em contest that we have coming up, and a lot more. We'll do a little bit of baseball. We'll do some best bets at the end of the show, but lots to get to this hour.
Yes, I want to note we did just get a little bit of breaking news in the starting quarterback realm for college football. We've been waiting for this. Missouri will split the Central Arkansas game Thursday night between Bo Pribula and Sam Horn. Pribula is going to start the first half. Horn's going to play the second half.
Okay.
So still can't decide on who your starting quarterback is going to be, I guess. I'd also point out is they are 36.5-point favorites. They're about similar to what we talked about for the UNLV game, except the Rebels fell flat on their face, especially from a defensive standpoint, is that this would bode well if you want to lay the chalk with Missouri in that you're probably going to run plays, continue the game plan into the second half, give Sam Horn every opportunity with the starters and the full deck of cards to win the job as well. So if you're somebody that likes Missouri at the very least, that would be a spot that at least bodes well because you know that you're going to have both those guys out there with the full set of complemented weapons and plays.
Worth noting as well for Missouri, and I know this is something that our own Matt Humans has been on a lot when it comes to their season win total. This is a team that doesn't have a game on the road until week 8 of this year. So their first 6 games of the season are at home. And when you go through their schedule, as Humans has detailed a lot, 6 teams finished with a losing record in the SEC last season. 5 are on their schedule. So if they do end up being any good, very favorable schedule for them. Another quarterback update in college football as well. We got about an hour and a half ago. Deion Sanders making it official. Caden Salter, former Liberty quarterback. He's going to be the guy against Georgia Tech, but not quite to the extent of Missouri. Did say he hopes there's opportunity to get their 5-star Juju Lewis in the game as well.
Not a shock that Caden Salter is going to start.
I think a lot of the quarterback like competitions and things like that people made out to be a 2 or a 3-man job ended up being more obvious, and that a lot of the initial feelings we had on these guys ended up being the result. And if it was a toss-up, you give the guy who had the more benefit of the doubt or the higher 5-star thing the option.
Or who you paid more money to.
Sure.
Right? Like,
yes,
like
exactly.
Brad Underwood, for
who
example.
You've invested more in.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, if you're a 5-star freshman like Underwood, you're essentially a first overall pick with what you're getting paid and your status as a recruit. More often than not, if it's one of these things where it's like 50-50, 60-40 type battle, just go with the kid we're investing more in.
In the NFL, Kellen Moore did make it official this morning as well that Spencer Rattler will be the starting quarterback for week 1, but did add on the QB decision, quote, "We're not getting into this quarterback debate throughout the season. Spencer's our starting quarterback. Tyler's going to continue to develop."
I'll call the bluff on that one. I'm willing to bet that Tyler Shuck will get a start or 2 this year.
Something tells me that Spencer Rattler's not going to be dynamite.
That's a good one. And I will say, remember, too, last year, I will give you the quote, "He's our guy moving forward," end quote. That was Shane Steichen when Joe Flacco took over. Yeah. And that lasted 2 games. So these guys, we don't take that at face value. And to my point of these 2 guys are the exact same dude, throw them in a hat, pull one out, the market has not moved at all for Arizona and New Orleans.
Riddle me shocked.
Shockingly enough, huh?
Riddle me shocked. I am on the Saints real quickly as one of my 2 teams that I bet for
lowest
scoring teams this year. Yeah, go ahead.
I thought that one Frank Schwab had a good tweet here saying for Yahoo Sports, quote, "I'm not saying he's dusted because he didn't win the job for week 1, but Tyler Shuck, who's a month younger than Trevor Lawrence, who played parts of 7 college football seasons, who was a second-round pick, couldn't beat out Spencer Rattler for the starting job. Not good.
Not good.
Not good for Shuck. Not good for a Saints team that invested a second-round pick in him. That's insane. But I guess you got to let the 25-year-old marinate for a little bit. See what happens.
Maybe he's got a little ailment that we don't know about. Add it to the list of his multiple surgeries and injuries that he's had in the past too. Who knows? I'm a Shuck fan, but I don't get it personally, and I think especially after you lose a quarterback in Derek Carr to injury, that you draft a guy that high who has had that many issues was just a surprise to me.
By the way, big role for the rookie. I mean, remember when Derek Carr got announced, I don't know why I'm doing the Trump thing, when Derek Carr got announced that he wasn't going to play, the market freaked out and pushed Tyler Shuck up there for Offensive Rookie of the Year as well. I mean, this pretty much, I think his odds were drifting anyway. This pretty much takes him out of contention for that as well, and one less quarterback in the mix for that award.
One other quick update that we didn't get an opportunity to get to earlier. Texans starting running back Joe Mixon's going to miss at least 4 games to start the season, still coming back from that ankle. He's being placed on the reserve non-football injury list. So your thought process on the Joe Mixon unders, and could we be pro Nick Chubb potentially with him having a bigger role, seems to be coming to fruition, at least for the start of the season here. Chubb has only played 10 games the last 2 years after he tore his ACL in 2023, then broke his foot last season. So what is he going to look like? I don't know. But he's going to have obviously a significant role now with Mixon out at the beginning of the season.
So I think first off, I'm going to be curious to see what this running back room looks like. I think that there is a pretty good shot this Texans offense isn't great this year. I mean, there's so many different factors. There's the offensive line, which, again, was an offensive line that got worse in the offseason, a season in which they had allowed the most pressures among an offensive line in the National Football League. Their running game looks like it might not be awesome when you're talking about the age of their backfield as a whole and what this is going to look like with that offensive line. Are they going to be able to establish the run? Are they going to have any sort of balance? And if they can't, is C.J. Stroud just going to be behind an offensive line, by the way, with some rookie wide receivers that they're breaking in as well, then just taking shots the whole time trying to make this work? I know the Texans' defense is pretty good, maybe one of the best in the NFL, if not the best. I just keep coming back to this offense. I think there is more of a reality than the market is accounting for here, that this team is floating around 8 wins and really, really leaning on a defense to save their bacon almost every single one of these games. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. And God forbid, Stormy, if we're right, if the Titans are a little bit better than what we expect, if they are the Texans from 2 years ago with their rookie quarterback, or the Commanders from last year, the division as a whole looks much more difficult. The schedule as a whole looks much more difficult. I think that there is a reality where this is a pretty ugly season for Houston, but we'll see if that's going to be the case.
I'm getting higher and higher on the Titans, too. It's scaring me a little bit. I've got a little too much confidence in Cam Ward, I think. I am a believer that this is going to work for him, and he's going to make an instant impact on that offense.
I mean, I think you should just be higher on the Jags, personally. If we're talking about the division,
sure.
You and I, from I think more of a power
win total,
rating standpoint.
yes, it's a win total, a power rating standpoint. Like, this is a team that, especially after last year, being one that cashed a lot of tickets, fading them, right? They were one of the worst, if not the worst, correct me if I'm wrong, ATS NFL teams ever.
Yep.
So you cashed a lot of tickets betting against this Titans team last year, and I don't know how much the market will be moving on them, particularly early on the season, based on what we saw last year, even with the quarterback upgrade. Like, I like them in that week 1 game. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for them as an underdog where maybe that number is just a little bit inflated for what it should be, that we can cash some tickets backing Cam Ward from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I mean, because look out, too, the name we should look out for, too, in terms of the ramifications of this as well, is Woody Marks, rookie running back for the Houston Texans, who looks like, according to some out there in Houston, actually could be the top running back for this team when we get to week 1 against the Los Angeles Rams. So keep that name in mind as well when we're looking around at player props, things like that. I was trying to find some Nick Chubb numbers as well, because as we talked to Zach Jackson, who covers the Cleveland Browns for a very long time, we talked to him the week that you were gone. He very much was on the side of, look, man, like Chubb, we saw him up close, does not look like the same guy.
That stuck here.
Right. So if that's true, too, this is a backfield where, again, we know about the value of running backs, how non-impactful they are, but could open the door for a guy like Woody Marks to have a pretty strong season just because of the volume that he's going to get.
Worth noting, though, it is interesting because it was, I think, just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where we were talking about the comeback player of the year market, and Nick Chubb was a name that was brought up in that conversation at around 25-1. He's 12-1 now. So that at least has been a market adjustment toward Chubb. And while we're on the Titans, they did have some injury running back news as well this morning. Tajay Spears is on injured reserve, will miss at least the first 4 games of the season. larger role for Tony Pollard than incoming as well. Per a good friend of the network, Adam Levitan, in 5 games without Spears last season, Pollard handled a whopping 86% of RB touches. So we'll see what that looks like for the Titans as well.
Yeah. Okay.
What are
Sorry.
you,
no, I was looking at something else. I got distracted.
Classic. But I like Tony Pollard. That's a bummer for Tajay Spears, though. I think he's a really talented back Tulane guy. We do have... I don't want to get too far into this, but I guess any other thoughts before we go either on that division or on the Titans, anything like that?
No, I mean, well, it's worth noting we're going to get to week 1 games, so it's a natural jumping off point. There's some 8s starting to pop up here for Denver against Tennessee in week 1. This seems to be a very strong one-way direction in this belief for the Denver Broncos. And I shouldn't even say it's heading in one direction. Or excuse me, there are some 8s popping up. It is 8 across the board at most spots. I am seeing 1 shop offshore and 9. So, this is very much heading in the direction of Denver at this point right now. I will be curious to see if there's going to be some buyback, because as somebody who's sitting here, it kind of speaks to what you and I are both echoing when it comes to the Denver side of things, too, which is there's a very strong not blind belief, but it seems almost in that case, that this is an AFC contender through and through for the Denver Broncos. And I just don't know if I'm there yet, but Market really likes this team.
Is it a concern at all for you? Maybe not concern is the right word, but has there been too much of a market adjustment on some of these quarterbacks coming into their second year as if they're just going to automatically pick up where they left off and maybe be even better? Because we talked a lot about Jaden Daniels, obviously, in that, but Bo Nix is in that category as well to me.
I mean, I will invoke once more, C.J. Stroud was the co-favorite going into his second year to win MVP. And it's not like he completely fell off, but that team did not come close to really meeting market expectations, especially from an ATS standpoint.
It's still a playoff team and won a good bit of games. They had some injuries, sure, but yeah, he was marketed as an MVP, and that was not the season that they had. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Before the line moves, the sharp plays is already there. They don't just follow the market, they help move it. You're not going to outsmart billion-dollar sports books or full-time sharps on your own, but with the sharp plays, you don't have to. Powered by advanced AI and plugged into trusted insider sources, the sharp plays delivers the edge serious bettors use every day. Free betting reports, real-time alerts, and market-moving insights sent straight to your inbox or X feed. Since 2011, the sharp plays has delivered documented results, public logs, and transparent receipts. Head over to sharpplays.com today and stay ahead of the line. Alongside JVT, Stormy Buonantony with you back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, Channel 158. And we're about that time, JVT, where the week 1 lines are important and real, and more people are going to be in. What are you looking at me funny for?
They're important and real every day since they've been born.
How about
upon
I say
earth,
this?
Okay.
Normal folk, the everyday bettor, we are now more interested in getting involved in these week 1 lines. There are people that, of course, go out and shape the market, and those of us that are deep in the weeds and we are looking at these lines as soon as they come out and regularly throughout the summer, most people are not that way. So
you're not picking off penny openers back in May, huh? What's the point?
But I feel like roster cutdown day is always a good moment to kind of reset and look at all of this stuff. And we might as well start with the first game of the season, Cowboys and Eagles, because this is a number that has been ticking back and forth between 6.5 and 7.
Yeah.
Where ultimately do you think this one lands?
Well, what I found interesting about this was what you're talking about, especially here at Circa, for 6 days or so, maybe actually even longer than that. You were sitting at 6.5 minus 110 in favor of Philly with this news looming over the Dallas Cowboys that their best pass rusher, best player, arguably, was not going to be available. And Circa was hardly the only one, but just goes to show again that this was just kind of floating out in the ether where, hey, we're moving off of a key number. Adam Burke brought up a great point where, look, there's a lot of variance in college football. So a Boise State USF game moving off of 7 is not as impactful as an NFL game moving off of a 7. But that's still pretty big, especially when you're talking about this whole thing with Micah Parsons. So I was surprised there. Now, some spots are shaded to the dog side. Other spots are 7 minus 110. I think that makes more sense to sit on this key number. Again, when you're talking about what is the edge or who would you give an edge floating around a key number 2, I think it's very clearly that it's Philadelphia. But you and I are both people who believe that Dallas can be better. However, I don't want to speak for you, but I will assume that you are of the mindset like me, which is I believe that if you give me Micah Parsons with the Dallas Cowboys.
That is a big part of the handicap.
So we will see if he ends up playing in this game. Again, we have about, a week and a half now until this game gets kicked off. But that to me was the big tell, was the market for a while was comfortable just letting this sit out there at 6.5. Now we've snapped back to 7. But it does seem it seems to be moving with the news of Micah Parsons. So all of his bloviating leads me back to, does it just get back to 6.5 if Parsons is going to be available?
Maybe, but we still don't have that answer. And I know you are of the belief that all of these are going to get worked out. And we obviously saw, and Dak Prescott, by the way, referenced this yesterday when he was asked about Micah Parsons. He said he feels he's going to be ready to go and said, we know how these things have gone in the past, kind of talking about how his announcement came at the very last minute when he got his contract deal. We know how Jerry Jones loves the drama. Honestly, the Dylan Gabriel quote that came out after his preseason game where he said they're entertainers and competitors, I instantly thought of Jerry Jones. Like, that's what I feel like about the Cowboys. They're entertainers and they're competitors, and you have clearly decided on what you're going to be based on historically what we've seen from this franchise in the last 25 years. But this is a team that, to your point, I bet over 7.5 wins this year. And part of my write-up when I was talking about the defensive side of the ball was some of the key returners they had, and Micah Parsons as a potential sack leader this year. So it matters. We'll see what it looks like ultimately when all is said and done. My initial lean was, especially if we were to get on the other side of 7 in a good way and got to the 7.5, to take the Cowboys with the points. But we'll see where this sits on. I would love a 7.5. I don't think we're going to get it, but I would love it.
By the way, since we're going to be in this together for the show, hard and fast rule, no Thursday games, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as I'm glad that you believe in that.
For the millions standpoint,
yes.
right? Like
you don't want to have to submit all of your games on a Thursday.
Yeah,
I do not like that whatsoever. Okay. But we also have a Friday game to kick off the season in Brazil with the Chiefs and Chargers. Should the Chiefs be laying more than a field goal?
Yes. So this is one where so I made the joke of you're not investing in these back in May. This is the one that stuck out to me immediately. Back in May, wrote an article up at the website of eason.com about market power ratings. We did this when these lines first came out, and we'll do this every Friday when you're gone, updating how the market views these teams on a week-to-week basis. With the opening number of 2.5 on a true neutral, you're essentially saying, or not essentially, you are saying that there's only a 2.5 point difference between these two. Just basic, bar none, on a neutral field, this is what the difference is. If you're talking about rounding this into a shape of nice and pretty and neat market power ratings, again, floating around a 2-point difference for these teams, putting the Chargers on the same line as a Lions, putting the Chargers better than, if you're evaluating the market ratings and where the numbers are, this original number was putting the Chargers, and you tell me if this is wrong or right here, as better than the Packers, the Commanders, the 49ers, the Bengals, and the Rams.
Yeah.
To me, that was way too high
off,
for this
yes.
Chargers team. Now we have more information, right? Now we know Rashawn Slater is out for the year. We know what's going on with their wide receiver room. We know what's going on with their running backs.
Yeah.
I think this is one where I'm kicking myself. One of the first lines for week 1 that stuck out to me was the Chiefs under 3. I thought it should have been closer to 4. We're finally starting to get there now. Some of those 3.5s are starting to come back. So we'll see where this goes. Maybe most people will believe that should not be the case and just eat up a key number. If this gets back to under 3, sign me up. Yeah. I think that this should be over 3. And I think 3.5, but shaded to the favorite side, is a better number than where we're at right now, or maybe heading.
I'm in complete agreement with your power ratings, the way that you have all of that played out. And I was somebody who early on was very pro-Chargers. Losing Slater, the issues with Najee, there's a lot of things here that have kind of shifted my viewpoint on the Chargers, whereas I am fairly confident in the Chiefs. In the VSiN Pro Football Futures draft we took, the Chiefs were one of my high draft picks to win the division. I think that they're going to be just fine this year once again, as they have always proven to be. So I am in agreement with you there. And now, of course, Travis Kelce's got the glow up. He's engaged to Taylor Swift. So,
some would say, Matt Ewens, that it is a downgrade.
That is statistically incorrect. I do want to let that be known.
Can we break this down?
I want to. Do you want me to do this tomorrow?
Yes, because I want the statistical breakdown, please.
I have done research on this.
Do it.
And it has been statistically a pro for players, most notably quarterbacks, but players in general, to have an actual glow up after getting engaged or married.
Okay.
So.
I love it. I mean, yeah, I'm down with it. I'm down with it. All you have to do is type in Fred VanVleet baby game, of course.
Something about having that foundational core lady at home really makes people play a little bit better. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, if my foundational core was worth billions of dollars, it's make me play better.
Let's transition to the early slate on Sunday. And again, a reminder, we mentioned this off at the top of the show, but for Sundays moving forward during the NFL season, we will be in that time slot here on VSiN, the final hour called Countdown to Kickoff, leading up to those 1 o'clock games. And we'll be on the air for the entirety of the early slates every week as well. But what?
Every week?
Okay.
We will be on every week?
All right. I'm going to make as many
Week
as
1.
humanly possible.
I can't wait to do the show with you.
Listen here, buddy.
Well, I got to go to Starkville.
It's hard. So I am. Week 2 of the college football season. I'm doing
sorry. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know.
No, I actually don't know. I didn't read the release.
Okay. I was going to say, like, I don't know. This is our first year working together, so I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things on or off.
I said it on SEC Network Radio this morning, so
right.
it's out there.
Right.
But I will be doing week 2 for college football. I'll be on the sidelines for ESPN,
Starkville,
ASU,
Mississippi.
at Mississippi State. And so that travel is so freaking brutal.
So we'll be together most of the week.
Most Sundays this NFL. I don't foresee this being an issue often. I'm not going to be sent to Starkville and Auburn and these places particularly often. I'll do most of those like West Coast evening games is my typical slot.
Give me the one shot. Give me a one shot really quickly. What's your boss's name?
Who's my boss?
Who's your
at
boss?
ESPN
Yeah, who's
or
your
here?
boss? Who's your at ESPN?
Steve Cohen. Oh, sorry. Brian Yarrow.
Yeah, whatever she just said, look at me right now. I need her. All right. So I'm gonna
Brian,
use my power. Do not draw my ire, sir, or else.
Brian Yarrow, Amanda Gifford.
That's right.
Help us out.
Send it to him. Cut it.
We'll see.
Cut
and
the check.
Listen, and we'll talk on the other end of this break. We'll continue to go through the week 1 slate. But I do just want to say, of those early games, a game I am very curious your opinion on is Panthers-Jaguars, because it's 2 teams head-to-head that we are both higher on.
You know, I went through this last night. I was watching my 2 sons fight with each other. And I was like, man, I don't know who to pick here. They were getting into it, and then my older son headbutted his brother, and I was like, all right, that's a little too far.
So
let's break this.
I know you're not going to tell me publicly which one, but everyone has a favorite child, right, when you have multiple?
I would say that's untrue. Like somebody's at Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal has said this to me and said, no, you're lying. I honestly, I could not differentiate between the two.
I feel like it's like just
one's very easy to deal with because he's 7 and self-sustaining now. Right, the other's 3, and I still.
I wonder if that tune will change as they
your finger in the plug stuff
as they get older and like actually develop a personality, and you're like, you're actually kind of a jerk.
I'm sure maybe one of them. I like to envision the dramatic scenarios where like one of them turns evil and the other has to stop him. Those sort of things.
Well, Deion Sanders famously has said he ranks his children, and you'll know where you stand. So I wonder if that's just one of those things that's just a secret internally every parent holds down deep, and even in this argument, you're still lying to the
If one of them
people.
becomes a Lakers fan, come on.
We'll be right back. Anyways, all that to say, Panthers, Jags are our children. How do we choose? We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Football season is officially here, and if you are coming out to Vegas or have already been here to sign up for the football contest, remember, if you don't live in Las Vegas, you can still be a part of this, and all you need is a proxy, Winner Circle proxy, trusted by thousands of players over the last 9 seasons, helping clients win over $9.3 million in the last 2 years as well. You can learn more about using a trusted proxy service when you visit winnercircleproxy.com/VSiN. That's winnercircleproxy.com/VSiN. And of course, where we are broadcasting from here each and every day at Circa Resort and Casino, 2 of the biggest and best contests in the world they call home here, Circa Million, Circa Survivor. And that is through the lens that we'll be previewing a lot of these NFL games throughout the course of the season, games that we will decipher between whether they are bets that we're putting on the bet slip, or it's a contest play, or it's a game we're contemplating for Circa Survivor, which I think will be a fun exercise for us to do regularly here on the program. Maybe. But I think it's good because we're going to have disagreements and come to a solution, hopefully.
We will. I have faith that we will. But yes, you're right. I mean, this is a cool exercise.
Do you bet all of your contest plays? Because I don't. And so I make sure that I separate that.
I don't think it's all of them.
It's hard to make 5 bets every week in the NFL.
Correct. It's very hard. There's going to be times, too, where I would assume we're playing contest lines that are stale because of injury news, things like that. So, and that'll be much like later in the year because generally these you count for all the injuries by the time they come out. That'll be the cool part, by the way, of our new schedule being this late. You and I on the network will get the first crack at the contest lines because they will come out about 30 minutes before we come on the air. So that'll be a lot of fun to get our first look at it. But yeah, not every single one of them, no. I think contest plays generally differ from what you're actually betting. Obviously differs too if we're betting Sunday night, Monday night, doing whatever, getting better lines, obviously, you would hope. Excuse me. And then not using them when you're talking about the contest. So, yeah, I don't think, no. Every single one of them I don't think they match throughout the week.
Last segment, we went through the Thursday and Friday night games before we get to the true guts. I don't know, guts of the schedule on Sunday. The meat. I was looking for meat in my head, and then guts came out. So there we are. You know, we're starting the season strong.
Let's get all up in them guts for a week.
Okay, now I want to kill myself. We mentioned before the break, though, that one of those games in the early slate, Panthers-Jaguars, is one that I think personally is very interesting. And for you, as somebody who is very pro-Jags and pro-Panthers, that 3-point spread, how much of that, which way does your instant lean go?
My initial thought is that it's probably a skosh high in that I'd make it more like a juiced 2.5 as opposed to 3, right? Like giving the Panthers a little bit more respect. I do believe in the steps forward that Bryce Young took. There are smarter film people than I that would look at his decision-making down the stretch, the ball placement, all the things we knew that he had. It was really just a matter of confidence, and all of those things I think will stick around when you look at him as a football player. But as you mentioned, I think, and this ties together, I still have my questions as to how good Carolina's defense is going to be. And as somebody who really does think Jacksonville is going to take a sizable step forward, especially on offense, it leads me to a point where I think this is as well priced as you can, and one that I would rather put a line through and watch and see if I can get something from it as opposed to dive in right away. But I will say, if we get to like 3.5 and contest-wise, if it's 3.5, I wouldn't say no to using Carolina if you're talking about 3 and the hook when we get to week 1.
There are a handful of these games in week 1 that are going to be barometer games for me, and this is, to your point, one of them. Where as I was going through, this was an instantly like, no, that line is right where it should be, I'm staying off of it kind of a thing. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals, and I know we've gone back and forth on this game when it comes to Circa Survivor and could this be an option for us, but I lean toward laying the 6.5 with this. I really don't have any belief or desire in wanting to back the New Orleans Saints. This isn't a bet I've made yet. I might end up doing it, though, just because of how anti-Saints I am. By the way, in case you missed the news, Spencer Rattler has been officially named QB1 out there in New Orleans. Total 42.5 in that one.
This one, we're going to get to 7, right?
I think so.
I mean, there's really, I would assume that
I think a lot of people think like I think about it.
Yeah, well, I also think with the public, again, as we know, for these types of games, we definitely don't see any of the public money, the general public, pile in until the days leading up to kickoff. It's going to be Thursday, Friday, that Sunday morning, especially when you and I are on the air. A lot of the handles are going to be coming in. I would assume that once we get there, we're going to start to get this pushed up to 7. Maybe some dog lovers are going to grab that 7 just because it is a full 7 at home against the Arizona Cardinals team. But see, that's the thing. It's like if you look at those and talk to those that have some general sense of shaping the market and some sharp opinion out there by reading the market and talking to people who take the bets, there's a lot of sharp people who do like Arizona. So I think I'm going to call the shot. It's not that big of a one that we close 7 across the board in favor of Arizona here by the time we get to kickoff on Sunday.
I like it. I think like I said, I think I'm going to end up laying 6.5, and I probably should do it earlier rather than later if we do end up seeing that thing move to the key number of 7.
Here's the thing, too. If the contest number is 6.5, that's going to be a pretty popular side as well. When you talk about the top 5 consensus plays, looking at that and saying, I just need the Cardinals to win by a touchdown against the worst team in football and Spencer Rattler, it's probably going to be a pretty popular selection.
Bengals going to mess this thing up week 1 again, 6-point favorites on the road against the Browns?
I don't think so. So I am tempted to include in our conversations for Survivor Cincinnati. Just because, look, you know what this is? This is LSU Clemson, the NFL version. This is, seriously, right? Like, this is, LSU is putting everything into that Clemson game. We cannot lose that game. We can't do it. And then this is the same thing. Every single time these guys step up to the microphone, the entire goal of this NFL preseason for the Cincinnati Bengals was what? don't get off to the slow start.
We're playing our starters in the preseason.
Yes.
Got to change up the vibes to start the year.
Yes. And look, I understand the defense has looked atrocious. Well, you're going to get Trey Hendrickson back out there. I just think that I understand the thought process. I get that this team has burned a lot of people. They are favored to this degree for a reason. The Browns are, I think, at the beginning of the year, when everybody's 0-0 and you actually have everything in front of you, a formidable defensive team with some real talent on that end. On the flip side, I know their offensive line is healthy and I think average to above average. I don't buy Joe Flacco. I don't know how good this running game is going to be. I think the skill positions aren't particularly great. So I'm saying that if you struggle here, if you're Cleveland or if you're Cincinnati, then you might be really in for it all year long. But this is one where you are going to get almost a Super Bowl type effort from the Cincinnati Bengals to come in and win this game. I don't know about laying 6. I think that we might be, what is the phrase? Am I doing this right? Spiting our nose and cutting whatever, spiting our face, cut off our nose, whatever that is, like just not considering the Bengals for this spot in Survivor.
All right, well, add it to your list when we have the full-blown conversation for next week. Whatever phrase you were trying to get to, I'm just going to be transparent. Never heard of it in my life.
Really?
So,
yeah, cutting off one's nose to spite one's face. It's an idiom taking just a drastic self-destructive action in order to harm another person. So I didn't use it right anyway.
Bengals under Zach Taylor. 1-13 first 2 weeks of the season, 8-15-1 the first 4, and this 6, by the way, is up from 5.5. So Cincinnati is getting a little bit of play here in the early going in Cleveland, taking on the Browns. How pumped are you for Dolphins Colts in that window? We're going to be on the air for that bad boy.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think the Colts are the side. I don't think there's really any question about it. I'm being dead serious. I shouldn't say that.
This is another one of those barometer games for me, buddy. I'm staying away.
I don't. I keep going back to this thought that people keep throwing out there that this is going to be a team, Indianapolis, in contention for fewest wins. Again,
I don't think that.
That's what I'm saying. And this is, again, going back with the just kind of pushing back on the consensus where it seems to be this massive groupthink that Daniel Jones is way better than Anthony Richardson, while at the same time, this Colts team is screwed and they're going to win the fewest games. Those two things just don't jive. I do think this roster, this offensive line is very good. The skill position down is very good. Excuse me. The thing that gives me pause is the secondary. But these are two bad secondaries.
I was going to say, but the Dolphins have a terrible secondary, too. So.
And both are due to injuries. So I think when you look at it from that perspective, that to me is what gives me a little pause. But I think Indianapolis, I'll put it this way, I think they have a higher floor overall. I think that the way this offense can run and the way they can command the line of scrimmage, control time of possession, playing at home with whatever edge it is, I think to me it's Indianapolis, but I think it's pretty close to almost perfectly priced. If you consider these two teams equals to one another, that's what we're looking at right here. Home field's worth 1.5. Just set it and forget it, essentially, and see what the market does.
Does my gut tell me Indy at home?
Sure.
Absolutely. But I just didn't have enough conviction on it because I want to see what Miami comes out with first. I'm genuinely curious, like what is, especially healthy Tua, Tyreek, did they figure out their squabble? Have they come to terms? Are they good again, right? What does at least offensively look like to see if they can take advantage of that Colts secondary? If we have a back and forth type of a game, I don't know. So this is one of those games where I'm going to use that as a data point moving forward. You know I'm with you. I'm very anti-Dolphins as well. They were one of the other shots in addition to the Saints I took for potentially the fewest points in the league this year. At about 30-1 was that number. Hey, if you think you're better than the experts, prove it with the Edge Boost Average Joe contest that is coming at you this fall. Same format as the Circa Friday Football Invitational, but contestants are Average Joes instead of the pros. It's free to play. You can register anytime throughout the season to still be eligible for weekly and quarterly prizes, and the grand prize, a spot in next year's Pro Handicapper Circa Invitational Field. VSiN.com/Joe for more information. That's VSIN.com/Joe. We'll be right back, wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Money Moves with our best bets next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Wrapping up this Tuesday edition of Money Moves live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app, wherever you've been watching or listening. We appreciate it. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. We got best bets coming up in a moment, but real quickly, we were talking a lot about these week one lines in the National Football League, and You're talking about the line pushing out on Denver, and it has on DraftKings, one of the major sports books, just ticked up to 8.5 against the Titans.
So it's funny. I said this to you, and then it sparked something in my brain because it was something that I had asked over the weekend. And this is why I like this space and talking with colleagues and just being presented things that maybe you had forgotten about, don't really think of, any of those. So the whole point here being is Denver and Tennessee and the fact that we're getting up to 8.5. And I asked you the question, what am I missing? And I had asked that question this last weekend when I went to check out the cool panel that Mike Palm had put on, Drew Dinsick,
Chuck
Edel, Sam Monson, and Mike Pritchard, who were there. And afterward, I was lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with Dinsick and Kelly Bidlin up with Overhang, and we were just kind of chatting about football and doing all those things. And we got on the topic of this game. And one of the things that I think that I'm not accounting for enough in my quizzical, what's going on here? This is a rookie quarterback going on the road, playing at elevation at the thin air of Denver against one of the best defenses in the NFL. From a spot standpoint, there is probably no worse place to start your NFL career than playing in Denver. And I don't think the more I have thought about this, the more it's like, because I keep saying, what's with this blind faith in Denver? I think this is more about what Cam Ward and the Titans will find themselves in once they get there. Remember, for the longest time, the league was starting Denver out with like 3 or 4 games at home to start the year. And every year it would seem that the Broncos got off to about a 3-1 start because teams were going up to Denver, playing their first game and sucking wind and doing all these things.
That's a fair argument.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're watching Denver going, this team sucks, and they're starting 3-1, and then they would lose 5 straight games afterwards because then all of a sudden not everybody's coming to Denver to play you. And so that, to me, I think is something that I should audibly tell myself now since we've discussed this, and which is why it goes back to Survivor. This probably is the most popular selection because, again, that situation, we might be right in thinking Tennessee in the big picture is a play-on team. But we might be wrong in using them here. And in fact, maybe the strategy, Stormy, isn't to lay 8.5. Maybe it's to lay alternate lines. Maybe it's to go 13.5. Maybe it's to lay bigger numbers here because situationally, this is probably one of the worst spots that you can think of to start an NFL career for a team, for a quarterback and for a team.
So that's interesting because obviously whenever you talk about games at Mile High, you take elevation into consideration. And the biggest talking point about this game is Denver's defense is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Rookie quarterback in his first start, as you've said. But I guess I didn't inflate it as much as the two factors coming together as the way that you just detailed it, which does make you think about it a little bit more. Because, honestly, I'm going to say, I am very pro Cam Ward. I really think that, and maybe if this is true, if your thought process is true, and Denver does just blow him out of the water in this spot, then that means we're going to get even better numbers on the Titans after that, moving forward, for us to potentially buy in on from that standpoint. So
reduced win total.
Maybe all of a sudden this goes from
odds to win the division.
Me liking Tennessee and not being as high on Denver to now just having the approach where this becomes another strike-through game for me. And I use it as one of those, okay, let's just see how the market adjusts after this game.
I mean, I think it also just goes back to, too, again, when we're debating this whole Survivor thing, which is, I used the phrase wrong, but I'll use it again just because it's funny. Maybe we shouldn't cut off our nose despite our face here. Maybe we should actually, again, like we just brought up, and it comes back to we've gone from 2 teams now back to 4, but maybe we should consider being on the popular side, be damned. This seems like a very good situation for Denver to, at the very least, even if you don't subscribe to the theory that they're going to blow them out and go alternate lines, things like that, maybe this is a situation where it's more like, the probability of them just winning this game might even be higher than minus 380 indicates, given what the Titans are going to go up against.
And listen, we are going to beat these numbers to death over the next week and a half, right? We are 9 days out officially from the first game of the NFL season. We're going to talk through these week 1 lines a lot. But we do have games that are coming up week 1 in college football this week, and that is where actually some of my best bets are going to be as we get to our best bets of the day presented by G-Bank. And remember, G-Bank is built with sports bettors in mind. Right now, you can earn $50 in cashback reward rewards once you are approved and your account is open with the GBank Visa Signature Card. Well, most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even when it's your own money. GBank treats them as regular purchases. No cash advance fees, saves you 3 to 5% on every deposit. Plus, you get 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on everything else you buy. VSiN.com/GBank is how you can get more information. Yesterday in Call Me Crazy, I said call me crazy, but I think I'm going to take the over in UNLV Sam Houston. Did not make that an official play yesterday. I already put in Notre Dame money line at Miami, and now I'm going to add UNLV Sam Houston to that for a lot of the reasons we detailed yesterday. I just wanted to make that an official bet that's going to be in there for our record this year.
Declaration.
And Baylor plus the 2.5 against Auburn. The more that I have gone into this game, the more I think that Baylor's the right side in it. And I think that we might see this number tick down and Baylor get played a little bit more. Auburn just seems very, very chaotic for me. And for as excited as I was for them to be a better team this year, I mean, they were one of the worst Power 4 offenses in all of football last year. You get Jackson Arnold and all the optimism that comes with that and how he can learn under Hugh Freeze. But the way that he talks about how this offense is going to be run and potentially utilizing multiple guys and having all of these different voices in the ears as play callers, I am not on board with that. And I know Baylor's pass defense has some things that they need to work out, but they put a lot of work in the transfer portal to re-upgrade that side of the ball. I am a big believer, and I've said it ad nauseum on this program throughout the offseason, in quarterback coordinator continuity. You have Jake Spavital back with Sawyer Robertson, who a lot of people don't realize was a 3,000-yard, 28 touchdown passer last year, led the Big 12 in total QBR. He's really good. So if things come together for Baylor at home the way I think they can, this is a huge, again, benchmark game in college football week 1 that I think we're going to learn a lot about both these teams. And I think Baylor's going to be the right side of it. I don't hate a money line play on them at home either.
I don't mean to bring things from behind the scenes forward to our audience, but we do need to work on some new production. When we totally agree. We ride, dog. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. I'm in. I'm with you on Baylor. I can understand where I can see the path which you walk if you like Auburn this year, but in this spot, I'll do it. I think Baylor deserves a little bit more respect at home. I think these two teams are equals to another. It's been on my radar for a while. I was kind of hoping this would get to 3, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think similar to what we talked about with Ohio State and Texas, but the inverse, right, which is the home team being the dog, I think it's more likely it goes back toward Baylor. So
that's why I'm saying take it now. You might as well, because if this ends up getting to 2, at least you get the little half point.
Yep,
so
we ride.
Anything else you want to add to the best bets today?
No, we added quite a few. Let me see. I'll throw out there. It's probably not going to get back. It won't be the worst thing ever. Actually, there's 2 games worth mentioning here. First off, the reason why I brought it up multiple times to Adam, not only because he went to the school, albeit now we know it is a very poor academic school. Akron catching 6.5 now across the board. The 1-7 that was still there is now gone. I agree. I probably should have been sleeping on this for so long. We'll see if this gets back up to 7. But even if it doesn't, like we talked about with Adam, because of the volatility of college football, still wouldn't say no to playing 6.5 with Akron. And I think I'm going to do it, even though across the board we're there and it's juiced to the favorite side. I think I might find myself on a little Cincinnati Bearcats ticket at Arrowhead Stadium against Nebraska. I understand, you know me, I'm pro Dylan Raiola.
That surprises me.
By the way, she just commented, was it yesterday or today? It was like, I'm paraphrasing here. I can't help what God did in terms of making him similar to Patrick Mahomes. I was like, dude, you're the one that's invited all these comps. I don't know what's happening.
He wears the same sunglasses, styles his hair the same way.
God works in mysterious ways, man. But to get the full 7 with the Cincinnati team that I think does have a pretty high floor offensively, I think they can stay inside of that number. It seems like it's a high-scoring game as well. We'll see if that's the case. Total got bet up from 50.5 to 54 in some spots, but it's more of a belief in in Cincinnati than it is anti-Nebraska. I think they can stay inside of that number.
I think, and that's a good tease, by the way, for tomorrow's program today. I know we hit on those top marquee, top 25 on top 25 games, but tomorrow, as we go through the college football slate, looking at some of those under-the-radar opportunities, games that might not be getting as much play being talked about, and seeing if we can find some angles there. And even though our time here on Money Moves is coming up, we're about done. Coming up on Follow the Money, Mitch and Paulie are going to have Paul Stone on college football today. Also really exciting, Derek Stevens is going to be coming up on the program, owner of Circa, bringing a unique sports perspective from the book side. And then stick around, we got VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Will Hill beginning at 7 p.m., followed by Cashin' Out. And Dustin Sweetelson, official, by the way, that he's the full-time host of Cashin' Out now moving forward.
It's old news. He's probably gonna fail. We have big news here that's going to impact quite a bit. Max Strus, foot surgery, expected to miss at least 3 to 4 months. He plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's basketball. I don't know if you know that.
Why are you the way that you are?
That's impactful. This is the stuff you act on now.
It's just so. Are we gonna do a full NBA segment tomorrow?
I could put together a full segment / show for you tomorrow if you want.
Oh my gosh. How deep are you on the guide?
Oh, I mean, I haven't worked on the guide, just my personal stuff.
Okay.
Got a bunch of futures. I'm texting Kelly and Zach. They're ignoring me.
I was also told that I need to have an NHL play tomorrow,
There is
so
it.
prayers up. Have a great day, everybody. Good luck with your bets.